2-year-old Pihu played on the floor with the leftover sleeping pills her mother had taken. Her mother had already been dead on the bed for a long time. There was a final message written in lipstick on the mirror. It revealed that the woman's act happened after a violent argument with Pihu's father and her suspicion of his infidelity. But little Pihu didn't know what death was. She thought her mom was just sleeping late. Hungry Pihu tried to cook by herself. She burned the flatbread, and it caught fire. Pihu tried to blow out the fire, but after blowing a few times without success, she simply gave up. She then copied her mom and put the bread into the microwave. She randomly pressed buttons until the microwave started running. 10 minutes later, the flatbread turned black and burnt. Angry, Pihu walked away. She turned her attention to the fridge. She ate a few bites of leftover cake. Then, she suddenly decided to lock herself inside the fridge. What on earth was happening? This film was inspired by a real incident in 2014 in Delhi, India. That morning at 7:14, Pihu opened her eyes. The house was still a mess from her second birthday party the day before. After waking up, Pihu played by herself for a while. Then she called out for her mom, asking for water. When her mom didn't respond, Pihu hugged her teddy bear and left the bedroom to find her dad. She noticed the kitchen faucet was left running. She pulled over a stool to try to turn it off, but after stretching for a long time, she still couldn't reach it. So Pihu gave up. She climbed the stairs to look for her mom. She wanted her mom to take her to play with the swing, but her mom still didn't respond. Pihu turned the TV volume up to the maximum. She called for her mom to dance with her, but her mom still didn't move. Pihu started crying in frustration. Just then, the phone started ringing. Hearing the sound, Pihu went to the bookshelf. She saw the phone placed high up. She went downstairs to get a stool, but by the time she came back up, the phone had stopped ringing. Pihu went to her mom again. She asked her mom to take her to the bathroom. When her mom still didn't respond, Pihu went to the bathroom by herself. She struggled but managed to use the toilet. Then she brushed her teeth on her own. Afterwards, she called for her mom to help her get dressed. Seeing her mom still not moving, Pihu shook her mother's arm hard. She tried desperately to wake up the sleeping woman, but poor Pihu had no idea that her mom had already left this world forever. Just then, the bottle of pills slipped from her mom's hand. White tablets scattered all over the floor in an instant. They looked like candy, and curious Pihu quickly picked one up. She wanted to ask her mom if she could eat it. As Pihu was about to put the pill in her mouth, her mom's phone started ringing again. Pihu stood on the drawer of the bookshelf with the help of the stool. She finally grabbed the phone. It was Pihu's dad calling, but suddenly she lost her grip and the phone fell under the bookshelf. Pihu bent down as far as she could, trying with all her strength to reach the phone, but her tiny arms were too short. She couldn't get to the phone at all. On the other end of the line, her dad's impatient voice came through. At that time, Pihu's father was on a business trip in another city. Before leaving, the couple had a huge fight over their relationship problems, but the man never expected that his actions the day before would lead to his wife's death, leaving 2-year-old Pihu alone at home. The man reminded his wife to unplug the iron on the table and then hung up the phone. Little Pihu didn't understand a single word her father said, so she went back to her mother. The woman on the bed looked peaceful, as if she was just sleeping, but the shocking wounds on her face and wrists showed the violence she had suffered before she died. Seeing the deep scars on her mom, Pihu looked thoughtful. She walked to the dressing table, wanting to secretly put makeup on her mom to cover those marks. What she didn't know was that the mirror on the dressing table had her mom's final message written on it. The dense words were filled with her mom's pain and hopelessness about the marriage. Her mom had chosen to end her life because she couldn't bear the pain anymore. After picking a lipstick and a jar of cream, Pihu happily walked back to her mom. She first put lipstick on her own lips, then asked her mom if she looked pretty, but her mom still didn't answer. So Pihu smeared the cream all over her mom's face. Very soon, the thick cream covered her mom's scars. Pihu hummed a happy tune as she spread the leftover cream on her own legs. After doing all this, she felt extremely bored. She grabbed a balloon nearby and started playing by herself. The balloon suddenly floated near the iron on the table. With a loud pop, it caught Pihu's attention. She turned to ask her mom what it was. When she got no answer, Pihu decided to find out by herself. She carefully put her finger on the iron. The instant she touched it, the burning heat made her cry loudly. She threw herself onto her mom, hoping for comfort, but her mom could no longer hug her. No one knew how long it took, but eventually Pihu got tired from crying and fell asleep on her mom's body. When she opened her eyes again, her stomach was growling with hunger. Still not hearing a reply from her mom, Pihu decided to go to the kitchen to find some milk. Just as she barely touched the bottle, she lost her grip and dropped it on the floor. Milk spilled all over the ground. Frustrated, Pihu grabbed a cloth and wiped up the milk. Just then, she noticed a cleaning liquid nearby that looked like milk. She happily picked up the bottle and went to ask her mom if it was milk. As her stomach growled again, and still getting no answer, Pihu decided to pour the milk-colored liquid into her bottle. Luckily, because she lost her balance, she didn't have time to screw on the bottle cap before the cleaning liquid fell to the floor. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Even though she didn't get to drink the milk, Pihu never gave up trying to find something to eat. She went back into the kitchen. She put a flatbread into the microwave. Then she randomly pressed a bunch of buttons. She thought she could finally eat something. But when she opened the microwave, she saw the bread had already turned pitch black. The bread was definitely not edible anymore. Seeing her plan fail again, Pihu stubbornly turned her eyes to the gas stove. She imagined her mom cooking, and she twisted the knob on the stove. Next, she threw the bread directly into the gas flame. As expected, the bread burned and turned black again. Pihu tried to blow out the fire with her mouth, but no matter how hard she blew, she couldn't put it out, so she had to give up. Disappointed, Pihu decided to look for food again. She walked around the kitchen. Then she came to the fridge. She used all her strength to open the door. But inside, the only thing she could eat was some leftover cake from yesterday, so Pihu took it out as her meal. As she ate the cold cake in the empty, silent house, Pihu couldn't describe what she was feeling. After filling her stomach, she took out some vegetables from the fridge. She planned to hide inside the fridge and play hide-and-seek by herself, but the narrow, icy space inside the fridge made Pihu feel a wave of fear, so she tried to come out. But this time, no matter how hard she pushed, the fridge door wouldn't open. Pihu started crying in panic, banging her body against the door again and again. After several tries, the fridge door finally opened, and Pihu crawled out. By now, the house was in total chaos. Spices were spilled all over the floor, the gas stove was still hissing with flames, and electrical outlets were dangerously exposed. For this 2-year-old child, everywhere was full of unknowns. Everywhere hid danger. Pihu thought her mom hadn't eaten yet, so she took a slice of bread, spread it with jam, and walked toward the bedroom. Looking at her mom, who still hadn't woken up, Pihu smeared jam on her own lips, which made her giggle out loud. Then she spread jam on her mom's lips too, but her mom still didn't open her eyes. After thinking for a while, Pihu decided to make some noise to wake her mom up. She first went to the living room and turned on the TV. She switched it to a show her mom liked. Then she went back to the bedroom to call her mom to get up. Seeing her mom still not reacting at all, Pihu thought the TV volume was too low, so she turned it up to the maximum, but her mom still didn't move. She walked to her mom's bed angrily. She couldn't understand why her mom was ignoring her today. Feeling lonely, the little 2-year-old girl shook her mom's cold body with all her strength while crying loudly. Just then, her mom's phone started ringing again. This time, clever Pihu used a ruler to pick up the phone that had fallen under the bookshelf. It was her dad calling again. Her dad asked Pihu to hand the phone to her mom. He wanted to know if his wife had unplugged the iron on the table, but there was only silence on the other end. Maybe feeling guilty, Pihu's dad began to confess. He admitted everything that happened yesterday was his fault. It turned out yesterday was Pihu's birthday, but instead of coming home after work to celebrate with her, her dad went on a date with another woman. This led to a huge argument between Pihu's parents. In a fit of rage, Pihu's dad even hit his wife, but what he didn't know was that his apology now meant nothing at all. He thought that after his long explanation, his wife would forgive him, like she always did. But all he got in return was silence. Not getting the response he expected, the man quickly lost his patience and hung up the phone angrily. Pihu desperately wanted to keep hearing her dad's voice, but when she tried calling him back, no one answered the phone. So she grabbed her toy phone and ran quickly to the living room. But because she ran too fast, the phone cord knocked the iron off the table. White smoke instantly rose up. Unaware of what had happened, Pihu sat in the living room watching TV. She felt happy as she watched. But suddenly, there was a loud pop, and the TV went black and turned off. Pihu immediately ran behind the TV to check. She looked at the mess of tangled wires on the floor. Not knowing what to do, she tried pressing the switch on the outlet, but the TV still didn't turn back on. Just then, she heard neighbors talking outside. The sudden power outage had made them complain loudly, wondering when the electricity would come back. Hearing the noise, Pihu wanted to go out and see what was happening, but because she was too short to reach the doorknob, she had to give up on the idea. In the empty house, this was the first time Pihu had been alone for so long. No one knew how much little Pihu wished someone could come play with her. Seeing her mom still sleeping, Pihu hugged her toy and went up to the balcony upstairs. She looked down at the view below. Pihu shouted the names of her little friends downstairs, but the distance was too far, and no one answered her. Pihu stood quietly on the balcony. Then she threw one of her toys down, trying to get someone's attention, but there was still only silence. Next, she poured a pot of water down. This time, the downstairs neighbor started yelling at her. Pihu copied the way her dad yelled at her mom and shouted back, "Go to hell!" Then she dumped the rest of the water downstairs, but by accident, her beloved doll fell down too. Pihu quickly ran back inside. She wanted her mom to go downstairs and get her doll. Seeing her mom still completely silent, Pihu didn't wait for her mom's answer this time. She decisively went back to the balcony. She held onto the railing with both hands and tried to lean over to see where the doll had fallen, but her foot slipped and she almost fell over the edge. Luckily, a neighbor nearby noticed Pihu's dangerous move. The neighbor quickly called out to Pihu, telling her to go find her mom. But the neighbor's words didn't change Pihu's mind about getting her doll back. Worried for Pihu's safety, the neighbor promised to go downstairs and pick up the doll for her. Hearing the neighbor's promise, Pihu finally climbed down from the railing and went back inside. At that moment, her mom's phone rang again. It was her dad calling once more. He asked Pihu to give the phone to her mom, but this time, Pihu didn't hand the phone to her mom. Pihu told her dad that her mom was still sleeping. She said she had called her mom many times, but her mom still wouldn't wake up. Hearing Pihu's words, the man started to sense something was wrong. Panicking, he told Pihu he was coming home right away. After hanging up the phone, she felt very bored. She turned her eyes to the white pills scattered on the floor. She picked one up casually and asked her mom if she could eat it. Maybe this time, Pihu already knew her mom wouldn't answer. She remembered how her mom had clutched these pills while sleeping, so Pihu put the pills directly into her mouth. As she swallowed more and more pills, sleepiness quickly overcame her. Just then, the phone rang urgently again, but this time, it didn't catch Pihu's attention. Finally, Pihu closed her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. As night fell, Pihu's dad was rushing home. When he arrived, the house was already a complete mess. Water had overflowed from the sink onto the floor. The white iron had been burned black. Seeing this scene, the man ran into the house while desperately screaming his daughter Pihu's name. Then the scene shifted. Pihu, unharmed, was happily playing with her building blocks, telling her dad she was building a beautiful home. Next came the sound of the man's heart-wrenching cries.